everybody.
Hello.
How's it going?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. Wow. That's a nice one.
So 10 years since Twilight. How's it been for you over the last 10 years? And looking back now over the movies.
Well, it's an incredible feeling having, it's been 10 years now, I think 11 years since we started filming. And, now I'm a father, I have 2 kids. I've produced, I have directed, I've written, and it's been an amazing experience getting to kind of look back and think, how young I was and how old I thought I was at the time, and then how life, really changes, and to have kind of grown up through this series. And, this is the first movies was before Instagram, before Twitter, really before Facebook took off, and how the world has changed and social media has really changed the industry. It's been a wonderful learning process.
Twilight opened the floodgates for a lot of YA movie adaptations, but none really touched the popularity of Twilight. What do you think it was about your films that really captured people more than any other ones?
Well, right before Twilight, I think, was Harry Potter.
Right.
And I think Harry Potter kind of kicked open the doors of let's tell these fantastical books and make them into movies. And then Twilight came about, and it was much more female-centric. I mean, this was a story about a young woman who, over the course of 4 books or 5 movies, really became extremely powerful, and she chased what she wanted to chase, and she fell in love with, even though it was dangerous, she pursued. And it's really a coming-of-age story of this young lady, and I think it was kind of the impetus behind a lot of YA films and books nowadays. You see much more female protagonists, and it's amazing. And having grown up in a family with only sisters and very strong women and very strong mothers, I love seeing those stories told. And to have been a part of it, to me, the best part about Jasper was Alice. She was his rock,
right.
And without her, this guy would be a really kind of monstrous vampire. And it was so to me, it's really not so much about the YA aspect, but about really finally getting a chance to tell stories through a female perspective. We couldn't have had a better director than Catherine Hardwicke, especially coming out of 13, which is one of my favorite movies.
Just touching on Jasper, I mean, he had this really dark past. Is there anything from the books that you would have liked to see being told on the screen in more detail?
It's funny. A lot of times people ask me, it's like, would you go back and do, more Twilight movies or a reboot or something? I don't know about a reboot necessarily, but I would have loved to have told Jasper's story and Alice's story, kind of how at the, maybe through different time periods as they're both kind of slowly coming together, and then how they met. I think that would be a beautiful story, and that was something that I always held in my heart as the character, and really hoped to, and I think we did achieve that. Their relationship was one of the strongest relationships out of the Cullens. I say. Oh, thank you. Me too.
I like that they did a lot of the backstory on Jasper, especially during the Civil War, which is one of my favorite parts of history, and seeing his backstory a little bit. That must have been neat to do the period costumes and all that.
It was fantastic. A little film trivia. The first days of filming Twilight Eclipse was all of Jasper's backstory. So I got to run in and jump into the Civil War regalia. And, I actually grew up riding horses, so I got to go get on a horse, and we rode through the Vancouver, faking the South. I don't know how that worked, but it worked. David Slade's an incredible director.
Yes.
So it was really lovely, because I'm an actor who does a lot of research. I firmly believe in pre-production as a filmmaker and especially as an actor. And so I did a lot of research in the Civil War, how the men stood, how they interacted with one another, and the violence of it, and the utter depravity. And having him go from Civil War to Vampire War, and then kind of escaping this crazy world, and then finally meeting Alice. And she really saved his soul, if vampires have souls.
I think
so.
I really enjoyed Aim High, which you worked behind the scenes on,
Thank you.
as well as in front of the camera. And I know you're also doing a lot of producing and directing and writing and music and everything. So how do you pick where you focus your energies when now? You seem like you're just very busy.
I try to stay busy as much as possible. However, I make a lot of time for my family now. In my early 20s, I was work. I never took a break. I was going from the Twilight movies to indie films, to my band 100 Monkeys, to producing Aim High. We were Facebook's first show. We were Warner Brothers' first digital series. And then, once I had my son, I took a year and a half off, and I just really wanted to focus on my family, my parents, my sisters, my wife, and my son. And now I think there's a balance that, I'm, as opposed to living in the studio, when I'm making my new record, American Spirit Blues, it's coming out later this month, I made sure I only worked from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. I wanted to make it a real, give me office hours. Because that really helps. It helps you focus on what you're doing, and it also helps you, I think, make better art because you're focusing on yourself as a human and as a person. And without self-care and without focusing on who you really are, I think your art suffers. I feel like I'm doing some of my best work now in my early 30s.
Right?
No, it's great that it's great that you consider quality of life so important because
Yes, sir.
the times with your family when your children are young, that goes like that.
I've been seeing it. It goes by so fast. But the amazing thing to me is, I had this long talk with my sister, who's a Portland artist. She's a sculptress, incredible artist, Kelly Garrett Rathbone, and we were talking about leaving a legacy and how important it is for us as artists and as parents to be able to leave something behind for our kids to say, my dad did that, my mom made that. And that's something I really take to heart whenever I do any project. And my kid can't see a lot of these movies and shows that I've done yet, but he's been to set with me a lot, and my daughter's coming to set with me now, and she's 2, and I want them to see the world of how things are made, and it is very important for me, especially to spend time with family.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to ask, what would your dream project be?
What would my
dream project?
Ooh. There's a book about a band from the 60s, a proto-punk band not a lot of people have heard of. I've tried optioning it a couple times, or a few years ago, 8 years ago, and I kind of go back every 3-4 years, and I'm actually going back to the publishers again to see if I can get it optioned. It's something that I would love to adapt the screenplay and direct myself, and as well be in it, because as a musician and as an actor, I really want to fuse those two. And I think nowadays we've seen some really amazing musicals come out, and how the musical has been elevated in a lot of ways, especially since Damien Chazelle. I mean, Hugh Jackman's movie, The Greatest Showman. That's something I want to do. But I grew up with punk music, so I kind of want to tell this story about the origins of punk.
That'd be cool.
It's a really cool one. I'd love to tell you the book, but I don't want anybody else stealing it.
Fair enough.
I actually own a very rare copy of the manuscript.
Oh, great.
Awesome. I'm very passionate about it.
Thanks so